Do you know the lowest point your cooldown can get? Well, there's a lot of these niche things that the game doesn't quite properly explain. This guide hopes to give you some basic understanding of what your stats do and some smaller extra info about them as well. There's 3 types of stats. One where you can put your level up points into that will affect your second type, that is actual combat stats, and the bloodline stat that is different for each class. With each level up, you gain 3 stat points to put into your main stats. At level 45 there will be a total of 135 stat points. Each main stat will enhance your combat stats. Here's what each stat will enhance. For strength, you gain plus 2 HP and 0.05 HP regen per 0.5 seconds. For stamina, plus 4 HP and 1 defense. For dexterity, plus 0.05% critical. For intelligence, plus 1 MP and plus 0.04 critical. For wisdom, plus 1 MP and plus 0.03% haste. For luck, plus 0.02% critical and 0.5 item find. Here we will explain what each combat stat does. HP is your maximum health pool. HP generation, the amount of health you regenerate per 5 seconds. MP, the maximum mana you can use to cast spells. MP generation, the amount of mana you can regenerate per 5 seconds. Defense reduces your incoming damage depending on how much defense you have. Block negates your incoming damage by 80% on a successful block. There are also exceptions to block. For example, if someone attacks from behind, block will not activate. There are also 2 spells in this game that ignore blocks. One, Shadow Frost, that is the mage's big spell. Bone Shot, that is the archer's massive attack spell. Min and max damage is the damage output range that you have depending on your skill's damage amplification and the enemy's defense. Attack speed affects your auto attack and can only be found on weapons. This stat is entirely useless for mage as it has no auto attack. Critical is the chance that your damage or healing output gets multiplied by 2, and haste decreases your cooldown and also increases casting speed. The global cooldown, which is the cooldown between each spell casted, can also be reduced but is capped at 0.8 seconds. The average movement speed is 105, but mounts, spells and boots can affect this. Here's a list of spells that can increase or decrease your movement speed. Item find affects the amount of golden items a mob will drop after it is killed by you or your party. It will not affect the quality percentage that can drop, only the quantity. Gear score is the cumulative gear score on your items. Higher percentage items with better stats will give you higher gear score. And this gear score will also affect your PvP level. PvP level range will be affected by how much gear score you have for your level. If you have a high gear score, your PvP level will increase beyond your actual level. The range of players that can attack you depends on your current PvP level, with a range of 5 levels in each direction. That means if you're level 35 PvP level, that means people with level 40 can attack you, and also people at level 30 can attack you, and all the in-betweens. Certain main stats will give you extra combat stats depending on your class. You can check which bloodline stat your class has by opening your skill book and looking at the passive. For warrior it's strength, for mages intelligence, and for archer it's dexterity and shaman's wisdom. After learning which stats do what, here's a ranking of the current meta stats according to their usefulness. In the very good section is bloodline, of course, since it increases damage. Stamina, which is very good for surviving, otherwise you might get one shot. Defense is a good extra added on if you would like to stay tanky. And as for haste and critical, those both are very good for DPS. But if you have an extra stat and you want to go full DPS, I would recommend bloodline, haste, critical and also max damage. Decent is min damage, but it's not really that useful as it only increases the minimum roll you can get. Block is good, but unfortunately in this current meta with Bone Shot and Shadow Frost it's not that useful. HP doesn't give as much as stamina and honestly not as good as defense because, well, defense still takes a lot more damage off of the attack. And the trash stats are MP, MP regen, HP and HP regen. Wait, no HP. But anyway, you get the idea because regen just is too low for the intended use. And MP, well, you just get a mana potion or a healer. It's much more worth to get other stats. Depending on what types of builds you want to go for, this should make it easier for you to consider with this stat chart. For DPS, you want to go for Bloodline, Haste, Critical, Max Damage or Min Damage, although Min Damage isn't as good as Max. And they're also ranked in the order of which is usually most useful for doing Gloom Fury. For Tank, it would be Stamina, Defense, Block and HP. For gold farming, it's of course Item Find plus Luck, since both of them increase your item find. And trash stats, which you never want on your items, is usually MP regen and HP regen. Now to be noted, for PvP it's best to mix up some DPS stats with tank stats. Otherwise, if you're going full DPS, you're probably gonna get one tap clapped. And if you go full tank, well, you're just a sponge that really doesn't do anything. So, you know, you can consider putting any stats together you'd like. My personal recommendation is Bloodline, Haste, Crit with Stamina, but of course sometimes you can also switch some stats on other items like rings and your amulets, because those are many stats you can add on there. So I would usually go for Bloodline, Haste, Stamina, Defense, but it's all up to personal preferences. Item stats. Something to take note of is that some gear pieces already have some base stats. So an armor piece will have defense and HP already on it as a base stat, or a weapon will always have min and max on it. That means you can try getting some other extra stats on those items. To see which items are actually the extra stats, they'll have a plus on them. And you can get a range from 0 to 4 extra stats. The amount of extra stats you get depends on the item's base percentage. So for example, if your common quality is 0% to 26%, it's 0 additional stats. 27 to 50% is 1 additional stat. 50 to 55 is 1 as well. 56 to 69 is 2. 70 to 78% is 2. And 79 to 89 is 3. 90 to 98 is 3. And 99 to 110% is 4 additional stats. But be noted that the items that are above 100% can only be dropped from the world boss Gloom Fury and are character bound. So if you would like to buy 99 or 100% 4-stat items, well, there's not that many of them. And that does it for the items and stats guides. Hope you learned something new and get better at the game, even if it's slightly. Good luck out there and have fun. Peace.